Welcome to Authentically Woman, a sanctuary dedicated to empowering women. We are a faith-based healing circle focused on changing perspectives and inspiring healing through authenticity and vulnerability. Join us in this journey of empowerment and healing. Welcome to Authentically Woman, a sanctuary dedicated to empowering women. We are a faith-based healing circle focused on changing perspectives and inspiring healing through authenticity and vulnerability. Join us in this journey of empowerment and healing. Faith has been my anchor. And in the darkest moments, I realized how much God's love could heal the brokenness. It was through faith that I found my strength. When you surrender to God's plan, that's when you truly start to live. Faith isn't just about believing. It's about acting on what you believe. I am Tinashe Mujera, a transformational leadership coach, an author and marketplace professional using faith as my anchor. Join us on the Faith in Action podcast, where each week we journey together through resilience, hope, and transformation. Tune in and let our guests help guide you toward your next steps in healing and growth. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Faith in Action podcast with me, your host, Tinashe Mujera. Again, we have for you another exciting guest who has joined us for this particular show. But before I get into that, I just want to encourage all the women out there. If you are there and you haven't joined our community that is called Authentically Woman, as you've seen from the introduction, please do yourself a favor. We are on Facebook as Authentically Woman, woman with an A. We're also on Instagram as Authentically Woman. We are a faith-based healing circle. And really, it's all about sharing stories from a place of vulnerability and authenticity to bring about healing. And we absolutely love it when our women and our young girls heal. So do yourself a favor and join one of our pages. Now, back to the Faith in Action podcast show that we have today. The topic for today is turning pain into purpose, embracing resilience, vulnerability, and transformation. And in the house, I have a special guest by the name Sandra B Zaca. And she is going to be talking to us about the heart of healing and her guide to thriving beyond trauma. Now, trauma is a very big thing and a big title that we are all talking about nowadays. And I'm so glad because a lot of people are being awakened to the truth of healing and the truth of looking into self to be able to become whole. We have Sandra, a person or a lady, a woman who has gone through it all and is here to share with us her life journey and how she managed to get her healing. I'm going to quickly read her bio so that you guys do get to know who she is. She's a wife, she's a mother. She is a mindset strategist. I'm yet to unpack that with her. She's a keynote speaker, Mrs. South Africa Top 10 finalist. She arrived in South Africa in 1995 as a refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where civil war had broken out. She has survived sexual, emotional, and physical abuse in her younger years. As a refugee, she spent most of her time in the refugee camps. Of course, some time in Malawi with her parents and her 5 siblings. Now, without sharing so much, I want her to come through and introduce herself and tell us more about the work she does, particularly in her circle that is called Brave Spaces. Now, if you can all help me to welcome to the Faith in Action podcast, Sandra B Zaca. Sandra, welcome to the show, my dear sis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. We are super excited to have you. I mean, we have Mrs. South Africa top 10 finalist in the house. What do you mean? Super really excited to have you, sis. And again, once again, thank you for honoring this invite and making the time to come through to the Faith in Action podcast. We do know that you have a busy schedule, and you ought to do what you ought to do, but you chose to be here with us to share your life journey in vulnerability and in transparency, so that the people can get healed. Yeah, if you don't mind, please do share a bit more about yourself and the work that you do.
So I'm Sandra B Zaca, actually, and I am my most important role is being a wife and a mom. I see that everything else that I do is like a side hustle. I've been graced by God. We can only do what God has graced us to do. I've been graced by God to do the work that I do as a mindset strategist. And what that means is I help women change their minds, because I really believe that I can help you change your mind, it will change your behavior. People behave according to their belief systems. And if I can help you change your belief system, your life is going to change. And I'm a keynote speaker, and I juggle a lot of hats. But yeah, that's what I do in a nutshell.
That's lovely. Do you want to tell us more about Brave Spaces? Why
Yes,
Brave Spaces and what happens there?
because Brave Spaces, I'm sure you've heard. So my husband and I run a company together, and we used to work a lot in the DEI space of, the diversity and inclusion. And people always say, no, we need to create safe spaces so people can come and feel welcomed. But the reality is, the world is not always inclusive,
Yeah.
and the world cannot and should not create a safe space for you. So you need to create brave spaces for you to come and invite other people to be brave. Nobody should be creating a safe space for you. You're a grown woman or a grown man. Like, be
Wow.
brave and create your own brave space and go after what you want. Expecting other people to create a safe space for you so you can show up fully into the fullness of what God has for you is actually victimhood. Why
Wow.
do you put the burden of yourself on other people to feel welcomed? You should feel welcomed.
True. True.
Why should other people be responsible for your happiness? That's like giving so much power to other people. But if you say, I have agency over myself, I'm going to create and be brave in order to show up in a space into the fullness of what God has graced me to be. That's a different story. One is from victimhood, one is from taking personal responsibility.
Sure. I absolutely love that. I mean, we hear this a lot, particularly in corporates with women,
Yes.
and they're like, no, I cannot get promoted because they did not create a space for me, or this is happening to me because the environment is not safe. And we go on about creating programs about safe spaces. And I actually never thought about this, that the world does not have to create a space for you.
And do you not? Because I think for me, what it creates even more is the victim mentality. For
Mm,
example, let's take a woman in corporate. I work with a corporate company. I don't work in corporate myself. So maybe I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. I'm willing to admit that. But I do believe every time you say they did not create space for me, right?
mm,
Who should and why should they? Who are you?
mm, 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 Absolutely love it.
What have you done to make yourself stand above others that people will be like, that's the person we should go for?
So you talk about who are you and who ought to create a space for you.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that victimhood, that victim mentality.
Because when you are a victim, the premise is it's everybody else's fault that my life is the way it is. But when you take personal agency, is you are responsible for every decision that you make and the consequences thereof. Because the one is dependent on external factors to succeed, and the other one is dependent on internal factors to succeed. Yeah, I get it. The world is not fair sometimes. And who said it should be, right?
Yes.
And so for me, let's take an example of two women in corporate space. One comes in, expect people to create a space for them, expect people to make life easy for them. And then you have another one that comes in who's willing to go the extra mile to be extraordinary. They're spending an hour every day studying and reading manual within the sphere of influence. Let's say you are in HR and one day you see yourself being an HR specialist. Do you know the company's policies? Can somebody call you in a meeting and say, this is happening, I can't remember. And at the top of your head, you can tell them exactly what's in the HR policy. That's what will make you stand out.
Wow.
Now, you have another woman who believes they are smart, they are entitled to the space, but they don't know anything. You cannot ask them a question at the drop of a hat and they will give you an answer.
That's right. Sure.
Which woman will you work with, Tina, if you were in corporate?
Definitely the first one.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. We have everything we need. God created us to rule and to reign, right? If we go back to the book of Genesis, it says you must go and subdue. And people always think subdue is wherever, but you can subdue wherever you are. As a wife and a mom, I'm called to rule and subdue my home, to create a home that is representative of who God is. In my work as Brave Spaces is to do the work excellently, that I need to know everything that's going on. I need to be reading on resilience every single day. And that's what I do. Every single day, I have to read something or listen to a podcast about resilience because I have to always develop myself. That's personal agency. But victimhood says it must be given to me. But what we don't realize is hard work does pay off. It pays off because you are not only equipping yourself, but the environment as well. And when people begin to see, if you're willing to go the extra mile, you're willing to learn. You see, I don't make decisions based on money. I always make decision on what learnings. It's always a long-term investment because I believe in investing because it will pay off. What are you investing in? Or are you investing in people must create a safe space for me? Or are you going to create a brave space for yourself and show up and subdue where God has called you to be?
Beautiful. Absolutely love that. And I love the work that you're doing in that sphere. Brave spaces. Create a brave space for yourself. If you're watching, if you're listening, I hope you're already engaging with us and you're really getting a nugget or two from the wisdom that Sandra has already shared with us. Now, I want to touch a little bit more into the issue of trauma. And I know you deal with trauma a lot, and this is the work that you do with a lot of people. Now, tell me, trauma versus what we've just spoken about, that victimhood, that victim mentality, and also, you know, how it is a reflection of what is going on the inside of an individual that maybe then shows up as one, that victimhood, and just not wanting to put effort and work and just wanting to be on the sideline and not creating again, tying it into what you speak about resilience, you know, the mindset, the mindset of resilience. Please take us through that.
That's a good question. So I have a favorite psychologist. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate. He survived the Holocaust. He was actually in the concentration camp. No, I think his mother was. I'm not quite sure. I stand to be corrected. But he speaks about trauma, that trauma is not necessarily what happens to you. Trauma is how you respond to what happens to you.
Sure.
Because when you respond, you can either go into freeze, fight, or flight mode. And some people get stuck in those things. And trauma is vicious. That's like somebody coming and messing up your beautiful garden that you had been planting and you didn't ask for it, right? And now you are left with the damage that's left behind. There are always choices. Here's the thing. One of my other favorite writers is Viktor Frankl. He wrote Man's Meaning, a book about the meaning of life. He was in the concentration camp and stripped of everything. And at the end of the book, he speaks about even in the hardest situations in life, you still have a choice.
Wow.
You see, people, when they deal with trauma, they behave as if their choice has been taken away. You still get to choose how the story is going to end. Sure, it happened to you and it's horrible. How is the story going to end? You still get to choose. And that choice will determine the kind of human being you become.
Wow.
You see, people don't want to talk about personal responsibility because when you embrace personal responsibility, it means resilience has to kick in. And resilience is not simply the ability to pick yourself up. It's the ability to thrive even in the hard situations. It's the ability to see problems not as the end of it, but to see each problem as something that needs to be solved.
Wow.
That's what resilience is. How can I solve this problem? How can I create the life that I want? How can I begin to live a life that I wake up every morning and I am at peace? It's the how. How do I begin to do that? Because when you work with how, it opens your world up to abundance. But if you work from a place of like, I don't know how to, I'm a victim, there are no solutions that are going to come to you.
Gosh, yeah.
And that's why in the word it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How to renew your mind is like, how can I begin to deal with this pain? That which is not acknowledged cannot be dealt with. If you say, I'm in pain and stay there, but if you say, I'm in pain, but how can I get rid of this pain? Then you begin to heal. Then you're no longer a victim. As long as you choose to stay there, you are a victim forever.
True. Go on, sis.
It's like you're a victim. It's like, stop being a victim.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
How
Absolutely love
it. That, anyway. So I'm very passionate about this because I think we have too many people. We see it even in our country where people are expecting the government to do anything. The government is not supposed to do anything for you. Why? Why should they?
Wow.
And it's usually from people that don't even pay tax. You don't even pay tax, but you expect them to do something for you.
Sure. Interesting. I love it. I love this part. That which is not acknowledged cannot be healed. And the issue of pain. And of course, relating it to healing.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's such a barrier to acknowledging pain in its fullness? Because I think people will know that I have pain. I am feeling pain, but all I want to do is to put a Band-Aid on top and just get on with life. But I don't think that is acknowledging the pain. And I just want you to take us through that process of acknowledging the pain and what it looks like. Because someone here may be listening and they're saying, but I know what my pain is. I've lost parents. Life is hard. I don't have money, or they don't like me at work, or my family abandoned me. There is the pain. They know it. But I think knowing versus acknowledging is two different things. How do we get into a place of acknowledgement and understanding that I am having this pain? I need to acknowledge it so that I can get to a place of healing.
Tina, acknowledging it means it requires you to take action. Because it's no longer somebody else's fault. It's easier to blame somebody else. You behave badly. Oh, they were mean to me and I had to behave badly. It's like, no, you behave badly. Just admit that you behave badly and do something about it. So when we take something like, let's take me for example. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, right? I was a victim for a while because the pain was real, and I'm in no way diminishing the pain and the gravitas of it, right? But you have to sit, acknowledging it means I'm in so much pain and I can see where it's going to lead, this pain. I can see it. But there are two choices. Which path am I going to choose? The one says it's somebody else's fault. When you know the pain, acknowledging is, I know they did me wrong, but what am I going to do with what I have been given? When you get to that place, you acknowledge that what was given to you was wrong, but what are you going to do about it? That's when you cease to become a victim.
Sure.
Because now you take responsibility. You say, okay, I'm going to go to therapy. If you can't afford therapy, okay, I'm going to listen to every podcast on healing. I'm going to eat healthy, because people underestimate just taking care of your body and how healing that is. Just movement. There's a book that I love, absolutely love it, called The Body Keeps the Score, by a psychologist who worked with trauma, very traumatized people. And he speaks about the power of moving your body when you are dealing with trauma. The basics, Tina: sleep properly, eat properly, exercise your body, begin to journal. That is taking responsibility of your pain.
Wow. Love it.
And more importantly, going to Jesus and say, I am broken. But the word says that he calls things that are not as though they were. He brings the dead to life. Can you bring me back to life?
Wow.
That is acknowledging your pain.
Wow. I love it. Can you bring me back to life, Jesus? Now, for those of you that are listening, that are watching, there you have it. Acknowledging pain means taking action. Sandra B Zaca is with us today and sharing her wisdom. I don't know why I'm getting confused with this surname, but anyway, here we are. Now, you write a beautiful book, Unyielding Strength. I love that title. I love the picture on the book as well. Now, so Unyielding Strength is a book you write about your own life journey, and I would love for you to unpack that for us. But before you unpack the book for us, why strength? And why I'm asking this is because there is this notion that people have about women writing about strength, and strength being related to being over independent, not wanting to submit, having ego, and all of those things. And I know that when you write that book, there is definitely an unpacking of that word strength within the book. Now, please take us through that, but touching on that particular piece, because I know it's a pain point for many people.
So the world has defined strength as this boss lady who's kicking butt. She's hardcore. She is She's scary, but that woman is actually weak. She's easily breakable. Think about clay. Clay is strong. It doesn't bend easily. It doesn't come out of shape. I mean, think about, yeah, like my kids love to play with Play-Doh, right? You can mold it. It doesn't harden. It's easily moldable. There are some that harden easily, you can't work with them. But there's molding clay that you can bend it, you can reshape it, you can do whatever. Strength is the ability to be adaptable. That's strength.
Wow.
Where you can go with the flow and change, recalibrate, put new boundaries, remove, cry, get up. That's strength. Now, the strength that we are seeing now, particularly in corporate, and we are raising mean girls, right? And the corporate girls can be so mean, particularly a boss lady. They are so mean because they are hard. But imagine, Tina, if we leaned into the power of our femininity.
Wow.
Imagine that. If we were supple, if we were intuitive, that you are sitting in a meeting with someone, that you lean into your intuition and actually this person needs encouragement right now in order for me to get what I want.
Wow.
We are raising women that want to be like men. How pathetic. Like, why would you want to be like a man?
True.
I love my husband. I love men. I respect them. I have the deepest respect for men. That's why they are men.
True.
My husband always says that I'm his most powerful weapon. He takes me to all his business meetings, particularly when a deal wants to be closed, because I bring something that he does not have. And you know what? That the power of femininity. I'm able to speak to a client and charm them that they forget about my husband.
Wow.
I'm able to win them over with my softness, with my kindness, with my intuition, just being a woman. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm not even talking about that. Because people can use it the other way where they go into all sorts of things. I'm talking about being a godly, soft woman.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
That's a powerful woman.
So true. And it's amazing, sis, because I actually am reflecting as you're speaking right now and looking at some of the instances or situations where I've been too hard, trying to be too strong and it sometimes is borderline aggressive. And I'm thinking, had I just stepped back and tapped into who I truly am and who God has created me to be, what would have happened? That change would have, the way the people would have responded would have been different, because now you tap into a certain space where you can't fully execute, because you can't push through to be a man. You can be aggressive now, but you don't have enough, not strength, should I say strength, or enough of capability to push through to the end, because you are not created to be that person.
You're not. And the word of God says that a gentle answer turns away wrath. Imagine if somebody's been aggressive to you, like in corporate environment, and you stand up in your femininity and you look at them very kindly, gently, without raising your voice, and you say to them, you will not speak to me in that tone of voice.
Sure.
I am going to leave this room right now. And when you are ready to speak to me with respect, I will be outside. I am going to give you a moment to collect yourself. When you are ready, come and find me. And I expect an apology for your behavior. And you walk out. Who's more powerful?
Oh my word, definitely you. definitely the woman who's
Who
spoken
feels like the fool?
Sure. The one who was aggressive. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. I love that. And I know that the book Unyielding Strength again is about your life journey. Tell us about that. How you became that person that like you were expressing with that's malleable, with the Play-Doh, that can be molded differently, shaped into a how was that journey for you? Why this book? What are the insights in the book that people need to learn by purchasing the book, perhaps, or getting a hold of it?
So in the book, I speak about my own childhood abuse. My mother was one of my first abusers, and I've spoken to her about it, and we have reconciled. So I've spoken to the book to the point where people speak about healing as very linear, and you have to cut people off and right. But I speak from a place of always taking responsibility, holding myself accountable, and always creating a space for people to be able to come back when God has done the work in their heart. So I speak about the power of forgiveness, for example, and I was talking to my kids about it last night. There's a huge misconception between forgiveness and reconciliation. Forgiveness does not require the abuser to acknowledge what they have done in order for you to forgive them. It doesn't. That's just you drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Because what if they never acknowledge your pain? Are you bound to them for life? What if they refuse to ignore you and gaslight you for the entire life? Are you now going to stay broken because somebody refused to acknowledge what they did to you?
Sure.
Forgiveness should never be dependent on the person that caused pain. Reconciliation, however, is a different story. Let's take Jesus, for example. Jesus died for you and I before we were even born, before you and I knew that we would need a savior. He decided, I'm going to sacrifice my life so that they would have freedom. And then as we grow up, we get older, we learn things about ourselves, and we realize, actually, I am a sinner in need of a savior. And now come Jesus, he comes, he woos you over with his kindness and his love, and you get to know him. You realize, actually, I need a savior. And then what does he require of you? He needs you to repent, to admit everything you have done so that you can come into a relationship with him. Why does he want you to acknowledge your sin? Because repentance makes you aware of what you have done so that I know and he knows what we have done wrong. And repentance requires me to change my behavior. Only when there's a change of behavior, then can we be in a relationship. Does Jesus stop loving you when you sin against him? No, he doesn't. However, there is a boundary that he will not cross. In order for you and I to be in a relationship, there are certain rules and regulations we have to apply to. Yet we say, no, Jesus must just love me. But yet we understand it when it comes to friendship and marriage. You will not be happy if your husband is in a marriage with you and he says, sorry, oh, I did something bad with another woman, and the following day is back. You and I are not going to be okay with that. But why are we okay with us doing that to God? And in Unyielding Strength, I speak about my own struggle of forgiveness and unforgiveness in my own heart. I speak about healing and restoration. I speak about adaptability. I speak about personal responsibility. Those are things I think very differently to the rest of the world. People think that the world owes them forgiveness, safe spaces. I'm like, nobody owes you anything. No one owes you anything.
Yeah.
Because when you go that, it's putting so much responsibility on other people. Most people cannot even like or love themselves, but yet you're putting the responsibility of being loved and liked on another human being. Do you see how dangerous that is?
Sure. Sure.
Some people don't even accept themselves, but you expect other people to accept you unconditionally when they can't even look at themselves in the mirror.
Mm. Sure. 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 Sure.
So unyielding strength is really a story of God and how he restores. It's a story of picking yourself up. It's a story of being adaptable. It's a story of saying resilience is not just about getting up, it's about thriving in the midst of chaos.
That's right. Wow. Wow. I love it. I need to get a copy, by the way. It's really, really, I think something will happen to my mind. It's really, really catching me when you're speaking and explaining right now. There is this part where you talk about behavior change, and I didn't
Yes.
want to forget this point. And you talk about changing your belief systems and your mindset in order for your behavior to change. Do you have examples about yourself in your own life journey where you've had to reframe certain belief systems, certain thoughts, certain things that you thought were, but were actually not? I know you've already mentioned this one big one, which is the world doesn't owe you anything. And I'm wowed by that. Do not subcontract your life. It's too much of a risk, you say. What are some of those deep belief systems, that you had embraced, that you had to reframe or rather change in order for your behavior to change? And maybe give an example of what your behavior was before and after.
Okay, here's a good one. I'll talk about money because money is a big thing. A lot of people struggle with money. So I grew up very poor. We never had enough money. We just never had anything. We didn't have resources. I grew up from a place of lack. I would walk in a room, we don't have sugar, we don't have this, we don't have that, right? Now you take me back into, I'm an adult now, I'm running my own household. Even just as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, I had a very mindset of lack that I would stress when I had money, I would stress when I didn't have it. I stressed about money all the time.
Sure.
And then 5 years ago, I invested a lot of money in a coach because, coaches need coaches because we all reach a plateau.
That's
And I'm a
right.
firm believer in investing in myself. I'm no good to my clients if I'm not investing in myself.
True.
And I invested in this transformational coach, and she began to challenge my mindset of lack. I was like, girl, you touching me on my studio, leave me alone. So now let's take an example of lack in general. I don't have a camera to start recording YouTube video. I don't have this, I don't have that. I don't have a job, I don't have this. Okay. So she said to me, let's start this. What do you have in your hands?
Mm.
Okay, what do you mean? What do you have in your hands? Money. What do you have money right now? Not really. Do you have money in your bank account? Yes. How much do you have? 30 Rand. You have money. It's not necessarily the amount you want, but you have money.
True.
You have 30 Rand more than most people have right now.
Wow. True.
Isn't it crazy to think like that?
Wow. Sure.
So I went from a place of never having money. Tina, I always have money. I always have money. I'm rich.
Wow.
I always have money. It may be
Wow.
5 Rand, but it's money I have.
I love it. I'm rich.
Because somebody somewhere is looking to have that 5 Rand and I have it.
Mm. 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 Sure.
I only have 200 Rand. Girl, you have more than most people.
Actually,
Actually,
I'm
if
rich.
you think about it.
Yeah, sure. Amazing.
It's the same thing. The person that's walking every day wishes they had a bicycle. The person that has a bicycle wishes they could take a bus. The person that takes a bus wishes they could take a taxi. The person that takes the taxi wishes they could take a car. The person that has a car wishes they had a Range Rover. The person that has a Range Rover wishes they had a Bentley. We are all living from a place of lack instead from a place of gratitude. That's why we never have enough.
Oh my word, Sandra.
We
Wow.
never have enough.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I
Wow.
always have money. And in our home, we change the language. In our house, we don't run out of things. We don't. We replenish them.
Wow.
Mommy, we need to replenish the sugar.
Shoo.
We never say I've run out of petrol. Why? I don't run out of things. I'm abundantly blessed. I always have more than enough.
Wow.
Money flows through me.
Wow.
So
I'm
I
taking
always
it.
have money. I
Wow.
always have money.
Wow.
You will never hear me say I'm broke. And if for example, I want to do something and I do not have the funds for it, I never say I don't have money. I say I do not have the budget for it right now. Can you see the difference? One is a place of lack. One is the budget is not there right now. So in the scheme of things, there's a budget for it, just not right now.
Wow. Isn't it amazing that, it's all about the mind. Hence, you are a mindset strategist.
Just shift it a little bit. Like in our house, for example, we always have too much food. We never run out of food. We always we have an abundance of food in our home.
Wow.
And I can tell you now, there's always food in our fridge. It may not always be the food we want, but there's always food.
Always food. Wow. Sure. And if we can teach our children these things, man, and start them from a young age and have it ingrained in them.
You can hear my children when we go to the store and they want something. I'm like, that's nice. Do you have the budget for it? They'll be like, no, not right now. I think I need to save for another 2 months. I'm like, there you go.
Wow. Well
Do you
done,
see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in our home, there's an abundance of peace. There's an abundance of joy. There's an abundance of calm. We have abundance of everything. But it doesn't also mean we just have abundance and we sit and fold our hands. The word is also very clear. Lazy hands go hungry.
That's right.
And people, like I always look at people, they're like, I don't have a job. I hate that. I can't stand it. I'm like the worst person to tell me that you don't have a job. I'm the worst person to tell that to. I'm terrible. If you come and tell me, I've been looking for jobs, I'm like, okay, what skills do you have? Okay. Like somebody the other day wrote me, they emailed me, I don't have a matric. I want to do beauty, but I don't have money. And I said to her, do you have internet? She says, yes. I said, do you have a phone? She says, yes. I said, then why are you not watching YouTube videos learning how to do nails?
Right. Sure.
Do you see the lack mentality? I don't have a job. I don't have a skill. Do you have strong hands? Yes. Do you have electricity? Yes. Can you wash clothes? Yes. Do you know how many moms on your street that don't get to their laundry? You can say, I'm going to wash your basket every day and you're going to pay me 100 Rand a week.
Yeah. Sure.
Shift your mindset. Oh, I don't have money. Do you have flour? Okay. Can you bake? Why are you not baking? Why? Do you know how many of the world's we will solve unemployment in this country if everybody had that mindset? Because we are no longer victims. We are proactive about what we want. What do you have? I can do hair. Okay, I'm going to tell all the moms in my street, I'm going to do all your daughters' hair once a month. And then you're going to pay me. You're a mom. I don't have a job. Okay, can you cook? Do you cook really well? Do you know how many working moms just are tired and they do not want to come home and start making a meal? How about you say to the moms, you pay me this much, I will cook for you. And before you know it, you have a business going. If you just serve with excellence, with integrity, and do you see the mind shift we just have to make? No one is poor. God did
Wow.
not send, God did not create a human being without seeds. No one is poor.
That's right. Sure. Sure. I love it. I
There are no
absolutely
poor
love it.
people.
Sure. 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 Wow.
No one is poor.
Hmm.
What
Oh.
do you have in your hands? Oh, I want to do YouTube. I don't know how to. Do you know someone that has a nice phone?
There we go. Thank you, Sandra. That is so life transforming. We just had a coaching session right there. For all of you that are watching, we need to pay her dues. Or those that are listening, she has just given us a life strategy, something that will really transform our lives if we put it into action. And again, that is part of what we talk about here on this particular podcast, faith in action. You need to take action. What do you have? And you are not poor, says Sandra B Zaca. Sandra, I want to touch, time is not on our side, and I want to touch on these two particular questions. First question is, you spoke about the wound, or rather the relationship, the trauma that you had, was the first trauma was from your mother. And I know that a lot of people are suffering the mother wound and don't know how to address it, and sometimes just don't even know how to pick it up or say, this is it because this is my mother. And what ties into that question, which becomes the second part of what I want to ask, is what are the symptoms, what are the signs of people being able to recognize that they do carry some sort of trauma, and how it comes about, maybe using your own life examples of how you knew that here, I have some trauma issues I need to deal with because 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, please touch on the mother wound.
I think the mother wound is becoming really big. People used to speak about toxic fathers all the time. And then they realized that the mothers that were left with were very toxic because they were angry about the husbands and the fathers that abandoned them, right?
Yeah.
So my mother's generation is a generation that's very traumatized. They grew up unloved, most of them, but their own mothers because their fathers were cheaters, and then they were traumatized by their mothers because they had to have a place to unleash their pain, so they unleashed it on their children. And then my mother marries equally in a man who is unfaithful. You know, that generation, so many people, I can count on my hands of that generation, of my mother's generation, whose fathers were faithful. And that traumatizes them, right?
True.
And so they unleash that. And I realize, I write this in Unyielding Strength. I say, my mother broke some generational curses. She did not break all of them, but she did break some of them. And I need to give her credit for that. Also, I need to give credit to the fact that she is not the starter of the trauma cycle in my family, in my lineage. She's just a recipient who was sending it to the next recipient. That happened to be me. And I'm the recipient that can say return to sender or send to the next recipient. Again, you have a choice. And the mother wound looks different. I mean, our mothers can be toxic, man. Their tongues can be sharp. I mean, we've all heard that you have just walked in, that the way she looked at you, you're already triggered.
That's just the look.
She has not said a thing, but the look, you know, the look, and you're already all triggered. All the expectations that they have of you. to succeed.
Yeah.
And you know what our mothers did? They sent the toxic behavior of hating men. We have a generation of women that do not trust men because of our mothers.
So true. Oh my word. I didn't think of it that way.
They gave us the dirty dishes for us to take. We walk into marriages with good men, but we walk in with our mother's traumas and we treat them the way our mothers treated us, our fathers, for things
Sure.
they did not do. That's what our
Sure.
mothers dished out.
That's right.
They told us to be independent. No marriage works with a very independent woman. Please show me one woman who's hyper independent and she has a flourishing marriage.
Preach
Show
this.
me one woman whose tongue is like fire and she has a husband who's looking forward to coming home to her. Show me one woman who's not adoring of her husband, whose marriage is flourishing. There isn't. But that's what we were handed. They told us to be financially independent. I'm all for that, but it's the heart behind it.
That's right.
What is your motive? They taught us to be career women. At what end? We sacrifice our children on the altars of careers. To what end?
That's it.
And then we are raising a generation right now. I have a friend in France who was telling me 84% of children in France are all on antidepressant.
Gosh.
Because we have raised hyper independent, career driven women while destroying the next generation. The devil has got it right.
That's right. Gosh.
He's won.
Yeah.
We have destroyed the next generation.
That's deep. That's deep.
So coming back to the mother wound, those are things that they dished out to us, right? And now we're trying to navigate that. Tina, how many of us, including me, after giving birth are doing crazy things while we should be relaxing and not doing nothing?
Yay. There's no time for it.
Our hormones are all over the place. We can hardly sleep. Our bodies are freaking out.
True.
But yet here we are in our heels in the name of corporate. To what end?
That's right.
We are busy killing ourselves because our mothers told us we had to be something.
Sure. It's true. Sure. Sure.
And then we wonder why 80% of women are developing autoimmune disorders. How many women do you know that have fibroids?
Yo.
How many women you know, including me, that are suffering hair loss from stress?
Sure.
How many women do you know that have fertility issues?
Sure.
Lupus, fibromyalgia. All these things are on the rise because we have placed ourselves on the altar of pleasing these mothers that are not even happy with themselves.
My God. Mercy.
It's never enough. You know, when you grow up with a narcissistic mother, it doesn't matter what you do. It's never enough.
That's right. Sure.
So you are busy killing yourself to please somebody whose life she does not even like. Can you see how twisted that is? And you know, one of the greatest gifts my mom has always given me, in her own messiness, she's always allowed me to be myself. And she's always said this to me: there is no greater thing that you will ever do than being a mother.
Wow. Wow.
My mother applauded me when I decided to hang my boots to become a full-time mom. She applauded me.
Wow. Wow. Well done, sis. I'm also applauding you right here. Sure. It takes a lot.
Me. It takes a lot. Was it hard? Yes. Was it boring at times? Absolutely. Did I feel stupid? Yes, because many women made me feel stupid. Not men. It's never the men.
It's true.
It's never the men. Never.
Wow.
And how do you heal the mother wound? Again, take personal responsibility. You can become another sender. You are a receiver and you can become a sender, or you can become a receiver and say return to sender.
That's right. Sure.
And can we please not punish the men that God has given us for the things that our fathers did?
Mm.
Back again to femininity. Do you know why the world is upside down, sis? Because we're trying to do things against the manual that we have been given.
Wow.
God has given us a manual on how your family should function.
Mm. Mm.
Children, obey your parent. What happens when a child does not obey the parent?
Yeah.
There's chaos.
Yeah.
What happens when a man does not love his wife like the way Jesus loves his church? There's chaos.
That's right.
What happens when a woman does not submit to her husband like we submit to Christ? There's chaos. And then we wonder why things are not working, because we are not doing things according to the manual.
That's it.
We know that with a washing machine, if you go to the washing machine and the manual does not say do that, it will not function. But yet we do that with our marriages, with our friendships, with our finances. We go against the manual and we wonder why our lives are in chaos.
Wow. Woo. Yes, I'm learning a lot as well. I'm enjoying this conversation like never before. Like, listen, our time is also running out. I think it's because there's so much juice you're bringing to the show. And I wish we had more time so that you can unpack all of those things. You can see there's so much in you. You know, maybe we ought to call you for a second session and maybe take us through some of the practical tools of what you do. Particularly, I was interested in hearing about brave spaces and what you've created as a legacy for your children, and how it works and impacts, you know, women and different people, caregivers, you say, mothers, grandmothers, and that they may be equipped by something that will help to raise the next generation. So maybe that is something we need to tap into in the next hopefully you'll be able to come through in the next show and you unpack that for us. Now, in closing, Sandra, please just give a word of encouragement, your last parting words to the people out there. Again, our topic today was turning, I'll read it here. The heart of healing, and of course your life story, and turning pain into purpose, which you've been sharing with us, and embracing resilience, vulnerability, and transformation. Your last parting words, and just highlighting the importance of why healing needs to happen, and urgently so.
Healing needs to happen because the next generation depends on you to be healed. Because you are the breaker of cycles.
Yeah.
What is the next generation going to say about you? Were you the victim? Were you the perpetrator? Or were you the victor?
True.
Which one do you choose to be?
Wow.
That's all.
Wow.
And whichever one you choose will impact up to the 20th generation.
That's right. Sure. Yo, I'm soaking it all in. Woo. Will you choose? You said the victim?
The victim, the perpetrator, or the victor?
There we have it. There we have it. To all of you that are tuning in, that are listening, that are watching the Faith in Action podcast, we were here turning pain into purpose, and we were learning from a mind strategist, Sandra B Zaca. What a powerhouse, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so excited that we managed to get a hold of her and that she was able to pour out her heart and all the wisdom that she carries, particularly from her life story and the book that she writes, Unyielding Strength. If you have been touched by this show, I encourage you to also get a copy, because I'm also going to get a copy for myself. Sis, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and teaching us about being resilient, but also still maintaining our femininity, particularly with women, and just changing how our mindsets ought to work. I am rich with my 5 rand, and I've learned something today, and I'm gonna be talking abundance and teaching my children rather, about the power of abundance and speaking it into existence.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We wish you well in your endeavors, and we hope to have you back again on the Faith in Action podcast. I think we will call it a show for now. Yes, everybody, it's yet another exciting, yet another powerful, yet another inspirational show that we just had with Sandra B Zaca. Until we meet again next time, it's goodbye from your host, Tinashe Mujera. Faith has been my anchor, and in the darkest moments, I realized how much God's love could heal the brokenness. It was through faith that I found my strength. When you surrender to God's plan, that's when you truly start to live. Faith isn't just about believing. It's about acting on what you believe. I am Tinashe Mujera, a transformational leadership coach, an author and marketplace professional using faith as my anchor. Join us on the Faith in Action podcast, where each week we journey together through resilience, hope, and transformation. Tune in and let our guests help guide you toward your next steps in healing and growth.